Welcome. It's fantastic to have the possibility to meet with so many startups who are interested in growing their businesses in the UK. Officially, I would like to start the session about startup environment and opportunities. So my name is Bartosz Koziński and I represent Department for International Trade at the British Embassy, Warsaw, where my role is to support Polish companies, especially startups, in growing their business, scaling their business in the UK, and very often using UK as a, let's say, portal to global expansion. So today we've got a fantastic lineup of speakers who are going to tell you about the British ecosystem, how to raise funds, how to make the first sale, how to grow your network of contacts, how to grow your business. So it's going to be a really interesting and succinct session. Before we commence, I would like to tell you a bit more about how the British government supports Polish companies, especially startups, in investing in the UK and growing their business. So first of all, I would like to say a few words about the department that I represent. So Department for International Trade has two main tasks. First of all, it supports British companies in expanding globally. So these are, let's say, the support mechanisms that you can see on the right side of the slide. And secondly, its role is to attract investment to the UK. So this is what you can see on the left side on the slide, and I'm going to tell you a bit more about what we as a team do to support you in your investment journey. So I would like to start with a statement that actually UK is one of the top destinations as far as investment goes in Europe and in world generally. So more companies decide to invest in the UK, scale their businesses than, for example, in Germany or France. So it's got a fantastic ecosystem that I'm and we're going to talk to you about. Abundance of capital, great global talent, so fantastic universities, not to mentioning Oxford or Cambridge. You've got fantastic tech talent, so you can basically support your business in growth with that. Great connectedness to other top ecosystems in the world, and I mean London especially, but definitely other regions in the UK have got these links as well. And British government does as much as it can to listen to business and suggest solutions that support businesses' growth. So I prepared a couple of examples of certain mechanisms that you as startups can benefit from. First of all, for instance, Innovate UK. These are various grants which range from £5,000 up to 10 million for innovative products and services. There's a myriad of different programs available, and our task as DIT is to get to know your business, understand your vision, and support you with the help of our experts in the UK. They will be able to understand what's your need and guide you through the steps of your expansion. So first of all, let's say on preparing the business case, any type of market research, competitive analysis, then supporting you in your steps as far as building your network of contacts and growing your business. Another example I wanted to mention is our catapult centers. There are 11 of these, and they are themed, like, for example, smart cities or e-mobility themed. So these are concepts to bridge the gap between the world of academia and the world of business. So if you've got a spin-off from university, they will definitely support and fuel your growth quickly. Another example I wanted to share with you are local enterprise partnerships. There are 39 of these. So these are, let's say, regional entities all over the UK, and their task is to support businesses, whether that's their business growth or if there are any challenges. A local administration supports and unites business. Also enterprise zones, but they are very similar to Poland, so I won't be dwelling much on these. But again, we, together with our experts, can advise you in selecting the right location for your business and getting the most of that. So whether these are accelerators, incubators in the UK, we will be able to direct you to the right ones so that you can benefit without actually wasting too much time going straight for the right ones and making the most of it. What I wanted to share with you, support definitely crafted for startups and SMEs, is Global Entrepreneur Program. We've got two representatives of the Global Entrepreneur Program with us, so Tony Hughes and Tim Luft, and you'll see how great knowledge they have. These are very successful business people who share the knowledge and expertise with companies that they guide. So they've got fantastic networks in the world of investors as well as potential customers or corporate clients, and they can plug you into the ecosystem and support you understanding these. So please do make sure that you listen to their sessions in about 10-15 minutes as well. Soft landing packages that I wanted to mention as well. Very often when business people think about growing their business, they think London, and it's a fantastic place. However, there are certain barriers to entry. It's very expensive, very competitive, and very often it turns out after doing the homework and making the research that majority of particular companies' customers are clustered perhaps in a different region in the UK, either in Midlands, for example, this is Birmingham region, or Northern Powerhouse around Manchester, Liverpool. So it's worth definitely looking what sort of support mechanisms as well these areas do offer. For example, fantastic options as far as Midlands is concerned for e-mobility and smart cities as well. So my colleague Marcin Boroń, whose contact details you'll see at the end of the presentation, is an expert in the area of Midlands Engine, and he will be able to tell you a bit more about the ecosystem there. But you can also pin Tim Luft, who's going to present in a couple of minutes about that, because he's also an expert in that particular region. So pretty much at the end, I wanted to share, let's say, 10 top services that DIT provides, and mention that our services are for free, and we can engage in conversation with you and support you if your vision is to grow your business in the UK, set up a company, create teams. We're there to help. And also what's really important, once you set up a business in the UK, you grow your team, essentially you become a British business. And if you've got a global vision, and very often the companies that we work with do have global visions, we're there to support you further. So we've got embassies around the world, and we've got trade teams located around these embassies. So we support you, let's say, if you're interested in the US, introducing your product or service in the US or any Asian directions, our colleagues in these markets will be able to support you in introducing your, whether that's product, whether that's service in that particular market. So that's a, let's say, whole cycle of the product, of the service that we as DIT provide with our experts. So how to work with us? It's very easy. I'm here today. If you won't be able to speak with me, please do drop a line to myself or Marcin, who's an expert on the Midlands engine area, and we're definitely happy to understand your business, understand your vision, and how can we plug in our resources so that you can make the most of the journey to the UK. So pretty much that's it from me. I do hope that you'll be interested to speak with us, and please do if you are thinking about growing in the UK. And now I would like to hand over to Bronagh Duggan, associate at Sapphire Capital Partners, who's going to talk about overview of fundraising mechanisms called Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme and Enterprise Investment Scheme. It seems quite complicated, but Bronagh is an expert, and she's going to tell you how easy it is to use these and support your business in growing and getting funding. So that's it from me. Thank you very much. Bronagh, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking the time and coming to the presentation on the SEIS and EIS fundraising schemes. And these are schemes that when you're seeking funding in the UK, you should definitely consider. So after the presentation, if you have any questions or would like to find out more about the schemes, feel free to contact me. So just a bit about myself. I work at Sapphire Capital Partners, My day-to-day consists with working with startups and early-stage companies who are looking to raise under the schemes. SEIS and EIS are lucrative tax relief schemes introduced by the UK government to encourage UK investors to invest in high-risk early-stage companies. And they do this by incentivizing investors through offering tax relief such as income tax relief, capital gains tax relief, loss relief. Now, the enterprise investment scheme, a company can raise up to £5 million. Now, this is for companies that are typically, early stage in their growth stage, whereas SEIS is for, that very young company that is still in development, and these companies can raise up to £150,000. Now, both schemes are very similar. However, the main differences comes down to the stage of development. Now, SEIS, as I previously stated, is very much for that early stage startup company, and the conditions reflect this. So companies that are less than 25 employees, have been trading less than 2 years, have gross assets of less than 200,000, and have never raised under any of these schemes, can avail of this scheme and raise up to 150,000. Now, you would typically raise under SEIS first. You can't go back and raise under SEIS if you've raised under EIS. So typically, raise under SEIS first. EIS is for that slightly more mature company, so that's why the conditions reflect this. So employees are less than 250 employees, trading less than 7 years, gross assets of less than 15 million, and are looking to raise about up to 5 million a year until they reach that maximum lifetime limit of 12 million pounds. Now, here are the main qualifying conditions regarding both schemes. Now, most trades under the schemes qualify. However, there are a couple of exceptions where it comes to certain trades. If a company is conducting any of these excluded trades, they won't qualify for the schemes. I would recommend anyone who's seeking to consider applying under these schemes to look up the excluded trades on the HMRC website. Most trades, as I previously said, are qualifying. However, there are certain trades such as financial services, legal services, energy generation that are excluded. A company must also have a certain amount of gross assets, so less than £200,000 of gross assets and less than £15 million worth. The company must also it has a maximum lifetime allowance of 150,000 under SEIS and 5 million under EIS, and 15 up until it reaches that 12 million pound limit, lifetime limit. A company can also must meet the UK requirement. So if a company is incorporated in the UK, it tends to automatically meet this condition. However, if the company is applying from outside the UK, it does not mean that it can't qualify. It just has to meet some additional or take additional steps in order to meet this condition. I'll speak about that more in the next slide. A company must also have less than 25 employees under SEIS, less than 250 under EIS. A company cannot be trading more than 2 years under SEIS and cannot be trading more than 7 years under EIS. The company must also be in good financial health, so it must be a growing concern that it's not going to face any liquidity issues in the near future. A company again can raise up to 150,000 under SEIS and then 5 million a year until it reaches that 12 million limit. A company must also meet the risk to capital condition. Now, this condition is 2 parts. The company must both be risky and also has the intention to grow and develop. And lastly, the company must not be quoted on a stock exchange such as the London Stock Exchange, for instance. As I discussed earlier, a non-UK company can qualify for SEIS and EIS. However, it must meet certain conditions. So it must either or have both UK permanent establishment and a UK resident or UK resident. So a UK permanent establishment is where a location in the UK where a significant portion of the business is conducted, whereas a UK representative is someone who is living in the UK, who has the authority to act on behalf of the company and to enter into contracts for the company. So essentially, there must be some sort of aspect about the company in the UK in order for a foreign company to qualify or meet this condition. Now, typically, there are 4 stages whenever it comes to raising under SEIS and EIS. Firstly, a company should apply for advanced assurance. So this is essentially a pre-approval process whereby you provide HMRC with a business plan, financial projections, and corporation documents, generally showing how the company meets the qualifying conditions of the schemes. HMRC then gives a decision on whether or not the company qualifies them. Most UK investors will request a company has advanced assurance before they make any kind of investment. This gives them that level of comfort that if they were to invest in the company, that they would get the tax reliefs associated with the scheme. So once a company has received advanced assurance, it can then go on to fundraise from UK investors and issue shares. Once that has been done, a company would then complete a compliance statement. Now, this is the SEIS1/EIS1 document where pretty much you detail to HMRC about the investment round, who invested, how much invested, that sort of thing. Once that's submitted, HMRC will then come back with a SEIS2/EIS2 document, which will have the information needed in order for the company to complete a investment certificate. So that is the SEIS3/EIS3 document, which investors need in order to claim their tax reliefs. So this is typically the standard process whenever applying for this scheme. Here are some additional conditions that a company must, investor requirements for the SEIS and EIS schemes. So investors must be UK taxpayers. They cannot own more than 30% of the company. Shares must be held for a minimum of 3 years following the share issue. Investors cannot qualify if they've previously invested in the company. The investors are capped at 100k under SEIS and 1 million under EIS. All shares must be newly issued shares, fully paid in cash, full risk ordinary shares, and the money must be sent by the business within 2 years. Investors can't be connected to the company, so they can't be employees, for instance. The tax reliefs are really what makes this scheme so attractive to investors. Essentially, these tax reliefs minimize the risk for investors and really get that inducing the investors to invest in great companies that are just not developed quite yet. So under both schemes, the tax reliefs are pretty similar. However, SEIS tax reliefs tend to be better because these companies are earlier staged and therefore considered more risky. Therefore, you can see that there's 50% income tax relief for SEIS, whereas EIS is 30% income tax relief. And then you've, of course, got capital gains tax relief, loss relief, and inheritance relief pretty much shared between both schemes. It is one of the things that makes these schemes so beneficial to investors and really attracts investors to invest in these companies. So it is definitely worth companies applying for these schemes. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. I know I kind of sped through that, but it's definitely worth considering in the future if you plan to raise in the UK. All right, thanks very much, guys.
Thank you, Bronagh. That's really great, and I think a fantastic example of really, I would say, creative solution that actually works fantastic for the investors and obviously for the companies. Well, being conscious of the time, I know that we need to speed, but and so thank you very much for that, and please do speak with Bronagh if you're interested in understanding more. So we know about raising some money, and I would like to move on to Tony Hughes, our serial entrepreneur, deal maker of Global Entrepreneurs Program. who's going to talk about the program itself and how he supports companies. So Tony, over to you.
Great, guys. I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. Hang on. Da-da-da. I am attempting to share my screen with you in the way Bronagh did and failing dramatically, everyone.
Don't worry, even though it is a tech conference, sometimes situations like this happen. Perhaps if you share the screen and then show the presentation on your desktop, this might be a solution. But by then, not closing the browser, of course, but just making it smaller.
Let me have a look. Does that work?
Yes, perfect, amazing. I will leave it to you.
Is that better?
We can see everything.
Okay, little hiccup, but that's it's not uncommon in these times. So good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned up top by Bartosz, I work with the Global Entrepreneur Program. So I'm what they call a deal maker. So I work with companies from all around the world and founders from all around the world, including Polish founders, to set up in the UK. And the program is set up for scaling tech businesses, in particular, ones who are looking to innovate, developing new products or services and disrupt certain industries. And the program is full of entrepreneurs like myself from different backgrounds who've all built and sold companies before. So we've been through the journey that hopefully you'll go on. This is the main statistic I use when speaking to founders across the world about why they should come to the UK. 9 out of 10, 90% is usually a good score in anyone's ratings. I'll explain a bit more about what that is later. There are some figures here which exemplify why we believe that the UK is one of the best locations, certainly in Europe, to grow and scale your company in terms of the amount of investment that comes through here. I think the latest statistics on the value of the startup and scale-up ecosystem and in the UK by Tech Nation places it around, in terms of value, of £600 billion. So it's worth a lot of money. I think anywhere around the world, and this includes Poland, it's fairly straightforward now if you've got a good team and a nice approach to developing technology in a growth market to raise seed capital. I think where the difficulty lies for a lot of companies is finding scaling finance. So how do you once you get the initial traction, how do you get that growth finance and support and mentorship to really scale that company in a global way? And I believe it's a great place to do that. It's very easy to set up here. It's to find finance if you're a company at the right stage. And they're the type of companies that we're looking for, the Global Entrepreneur Program, where you've had a bit of traction, you've raised maybe a bit of money, and now looking to really accelerate your growth. And as Bartosz mentioned at the beginning, there are, the UK is geographically a tiny country, but there are many different hubs in which I would advise you land in, depending on what you do, right? So it's obviously not just about London. London's the place where you go to raise finance, but places like Manchester, like Bristol, Oxford and Cambridge, obviously, all have excellent tech clusters of their own with specializations in certain areas that are appropriate to you. And I've branched that out to all the devolved administrations as well, whether it's Northern Ireland or Scotland or Wales. They're all appropriate for certain types of companies and certain founders at different stages. And as a program, we very much place companies where we think they have the best potential to grow. And that's because, not in the sense we're incentivized to do that, but just because we think as founders. So we think about, if I'm running that company, where would I place myself in? So there's a bit of advice and in terms of expertise and know-how in there that we bring to the party. Raising investment in the UK is obviously, as I mentioned before, a lot in London, but there are other centres such as Cambridge and Birmingham there as well. And Tim is going to speak a bit about the Midlands offer later. But also in terms of sectors, I mean, we're sector agnostic, but obviously, you know, the UK and London in particular is known for fintech. We've seen a lot of e-commerce companies, a lot of B2B companies coming into the UK of late, and then there are nascent sectors coming in, whether it's using blockchain technologies or artificial intelligence and machine learning, that of course are always popular. I mentioned before in terms of what the UK's USP is for you, and I think it is very much the latest stage of investment. That's because we've got lots of different funds offering lots of different incentives to founders, whether it's about connections or whether it's about late stage capital and doing deals of all kinds of different types. That really is the attractor for a lot of the companies who have already proven themselves in their own domestic markets and now looking to accelerate that pace of change. And that's really, this is the kind of proof of all that, is the fact that we've had so many tech exits. I mean, if you look at the size of the M&A market in the UK, it's disproportionate to its size. As we saw last year with the pandemic, a lot of investors were just starting to be a bit hesitant about investing in new companies, so would look after its portfolio. A lot of companies were being hesitant in terms of their ability to acquire companies or to merge with other companies. But then around autumn of last year, when everyone started to calm down and get their house in order, there started to be an uptick in terms of the level of M&A activity. To give you an idea of the size of that, in the UK last year, M&A activity was worth around 350 billion. That's about 13% of the global total, 13%. It's a huge amount of money that goes through the UK. But there's also a huge amount of clients here as well. If you think about London as the second only to New York in the world in terms of the amount of corporates HQ'd there, it means you're not only, you know, coming here to raise finance, but also you can raise, you can find a lot of clients, which is as key in terms of accelerating the pace of your business. And of course, in the early stage scene, there are many accelerators. You know, we're well over 200 now in the UK. A lot of them in the larger cities. So depending on what you do, there's always some place that is offering an accelerator program to help connect you. I think wherever stage you're at, especially if you're a seed, pre-seed, seed, or Series A, these are used at different purposes, aren't they? Always to connect you into people who can help your business grow. Some of the more programmatic accelerators might not be suitable for you if you're at later stage, but they all offer something in terms of connectivity, either to later stage investors or to expertise to help your business go further. I think where the UK also has a certain USP is the number of what I call gateway organizations. These are just a snapshot of some of them, whether it's in education or whether it's in music, creative industries, and advertising, in retail. There are lots of different of these gateway organizations that exist just to connect you into a market. So if you think of accelerators as connectors into potential finance, right, and maybe non-exec directors, these are connectors into marketplaces where they're helping you articulate your product and service and connecting you into someone who's going to buy it, right? Whether it's a publisher for the education sector, whether it's an advertiser, you know, in the ad tech space, or whether it's a large retailer in retail technologies. They're there just to connect you into a market which is invaluable. And as has been mentioned previously, the UK government offers all kinds of different incentives, like a lot of governments do. I suppose our government is focused on making sure the ecosystem is well funded, and it enables, as you heard from Bronagh on SEIS and EIS, it enables investors to invest in space at limited financial risk themselves. But they also offer things like innovation grants, which are invaluable for early stage companies, where you get grants for developing innovative products and services. There are business growth schemes, mostly outside of London, where all kinds of different cities and towns are looking to attract founders such as yourselves. And the British Business Bank was created just to ensure that VCs were investing in taking risks in early stage companies. The GEP program, just to finish off, that I'm involved with, does many things. I suppose the crux of it is I work very closely with founders. We bring in about close to 100 companies and founding teams a year. and we connect them to all of our networks to make sure that you don't make any mistakes and you maximize the opportunities of being in the UK. One recent one I brought in from Poland was Katia, who runs Yosh, very successful in terms of AI in the chatbot scene. And so really going back to my original statistic and the one I think is the most compelling, and that's 9 out of 10, and that stands for 9 out of the top 10 tech unicorns in the UK have at least one co-founder from overseas. That says to me that you can not only come here to find maybe a client or two or to raise some finance, but you can come here and grow a global company. And we're very much here to support you. That's my contact details of where you can connect me if you're interested in the Global Entrepreneur Program. And I look forward to hearing from you, and have a great rest of the day. Thanks very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tony. I think definitely very insightful overview of the business ecosystem. And I think two things that definitely stem out to me is abundance of capital and access to strategic clients. So thanks very much for that. And I would like to move on to the next part of our program today. Now we're going to move on to a discussion. So I would like to invite Tim Luft, also serial entrepreneur and dealmaker of GEP. As you can see, located somewhere around Midlands region, and also Adam Piekarski from Triggo, a revolutionary electric vehicle that combines the advantages of a car and the motorcycle in one closed body. So that's a fantastic vision. So gentlemen are going to talk about Triggo's journey to the UK. So that's it from me.
Can you hear me okay?
Over to you. Yes.
Yes, yeah, am I
Great.
heard? Yeah.
Hello everybody and welcome, and I'm from the sunny Midlands here in the UK. And hi again, Adam, it's great to see you again. And we just heard from Tony, who talked about GEP, and we're going to have a little chat. Adam's actually one of the companies that's on GEP, so Adam's probably much better to talk about the process than I am, and the support and everything that the GEP entitles. But Adam, before we kick off, would you be able to sort of introduce yourself and just say a little bit about your business?
Yes, certainly. My name is Adam Piekarski. I originally born in the UK, but I've been sort of living and working in Poland for the last sort of 25 years. 12 years ago, I came across, I met up with a friend who's the inventor and the idea, came up with an idea of building a vehicle that actually does what many others have tried to do before but never succeeded, building a vehicle that combines the benefits of a motorbike and a car for urban mobility. A lot of companies have tried, and they've always combined the weaknesses of both, but never actually combined the benefits. And the solution in question is called Triggo. Initially, it was designed as a three-wheeler, as a four-wheeler, and the idea is very, very simple. It's basically find a vehicle that is safe, that is weatherproof, so you can use it without wearing special protective gear and helmets and rain jackets and so on, and that provides you with the advantages of a motorbike or a bicycle to get you around town. And the way we've done that at Triggo is our vehicle. The front axle basically contracts and expands. When it's contracted, the vehicle's 86 centimeters narrow. I was going to say wide, but it's 86 centimeters narrow, which is basically narrower than many motorbikes. It's the width of a cyclist. When obviously, if you're putting two people into a vehicle that's narrow and quite high, because the seating position is similar to that of a seating position in an SUV, you may have problems with stability. So the way we overcome that, and a lot of companies, this is one of the issues everybody who's tried previously has failed to overcome. The way we overcame that is by expanding the axle. The axle, when it's expanded, gives the vehicle a width of 1.5 meters, and then it can be driven at speed in total safety. So basically, I've just come literally from another panel where we were talking about sustainability, sustainable transport solutions, and so on. Maybe if I can just one more sentence to tie into from that panel, we designed a vehicle to help with urban mobility. Through the GEP program, what we've what we've also sort of discovered, and this is one of the great things about the GEP program and the fact that there is so much innovation, so much research in the UK, is that our cabin, which is a composite, it's a composite cabin, something that we never thought about from an environmental point of view, but something that we discovered through a company in the UK with which we are now in dialogue with, is that we can utilize between 800 and 1200 plastic PET bottles in the manufacturing of our cabin, which actually makes the cabin stronger than the composites that we're using and lighter than the composites we're using. So obviously there's an additional benefit there on a sustainable, greener sort of environment, and something that we basically came across through the GP program. So it's not only the ideas that you have, but you'll be surprised at how many additional benefits you can pick up just by making the decision to do things with partners in the UK and to be open to collaboration projects, which I mean, Tim does a sterling job in sending me emails on all sorts of research projects. And actually, this dialogue came out from resulted from one of Tim's initial emails.
No, that's excellent, Adam. Thank you very much. And actually, looking at the UK market in the Midlands, obviously we heard Tony talked about some of the centres of excellence, and I know you guys are very much tied into a research centre for automotive there in the Midlands, and I think the UK generally has quite a good offer when it comes to R&D and looking at specialist research. And I'm going to ask you a little bit about the sort of R&D, but also when we last spoke, I remember you had some wonderful use cases for your product for the UK market, which I thought, as well as R&D, the market opportunity, which I think, you know, you came up with some really innovative ways. I think you were talking about ambulances and all this, which is great. Right. And linking on the low carbon, interesting enough, today, well, actually, I think it's tomorrow, but Birmingham becomes a low carbon city. So there's actually a toll starts on Monday. And if I drive into Birmingham in a car that's got heavy on emissions, I have to pay £8 a day. So suddenly our cities are going for this transformational change in low carbon. At the same time, you guys are coming out with that potential transportation for that last mile. But I suppose I've sort of talked about all sorts of areas there, aren't I? But if we go back to the R&D bit, you know, I'm thinking for the audience to maybe consider, you know, who might not have considered the UK as a centre for R&D. Are you able to talk a little bit about the location where your company's based in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, we're because of obviously it's an automotive product. We looked at a number of various options, and we ended up choosing the Hariba Myra Technology Park in Nuneaton, which is basically the perfect test bed for vehicle development, vehicle testing, for collaboration with. They have incredible tenants there, from sort of Jaguar, Land Rover, Aston Martin to sort of startups like a company called Imperium Drive that are also on the GEP program, and that we're actually doing a pilot study with in a couple of weeks in the UK. But not at that facility, but actually on public highways. And I think that's a very valid point for anybody who's interested in autonomy or transport or connective autonomous vehicles, whether you're designing a vehicle or an application or sensors or any sort of hardware or software that basically is within the general sort of mobility sector. The UK, the investment at a government level in the UK, creating a huge test bed. I think there are over 300 kilometres of roads. If you look at the motorway network, public highways, or dual carriageways, and sort of A roads, B roads, that creates this sort of living sort of a testing environment, test bed environment for companies like our own, and the organizations like Catapult, like Zenzig, that basically they're driven by helping companies to collaborate. They've been sort of created to help companies identify potential partners. They put them in touch. They create various research sort of projects that you can sort of contribute to. Our vehicle was designed as a mobility as a service vehicle for transport, first and last mile urban transport. But since being on the GEP program, we've found out that we can use the platform, the chassis of our vehicle alone as a test bed for other companies that have other use cases for our vehicle. As Tim mentioned, blue light services was a point in question. Automated last mile delivery. More and more city centres, it's not just personal transport, it's not just Tim, you paying £8 to get into Birmingham or to drive into Birmingham, but companies like sort of the courier companies, delivery companies, they're also finding more and more restrictions being put in place. So we've been contacted by a number of I don't want to mention sort of the like the DHLs, UPSs, and so on, who are building smaller hubs, sort of they call them sort of distribution spokes. So they have distribution hubs between cities, and then around on the outskirts of the cities, they have little distribution spokes, basically to facilitate the transport of goods into the city centres, because they're also facing restrictions on their vans coming into the city centres. And it's not just about internal combustion engines, it's about the footprint of the vehicle. There will, I mean, at the moment we're talking about pollution and internal combustion engines, and if you have a diesel or a petrol fueled car, then you're going to have to pay more to come into a city centre. But the next stage is the footprint of the car, and the fact that if you've got a 4-ton or a 3-ton vehicle, the amount of energy it takes to make that vehicle move, and then the amount of energy it takes to stop that vehicle. A lot of cities are thinking about what they call sustainable urban mobility plans, SUMPs. And I think the majority of cities in the UK, or transport authorities, have very, very well defined, very clearly defined mobility strategies. Looking at sort of 10, 15 years in the future.
No, that's great. And actually, for the next question, I'll keep an eye on time, because I know we've only got about 5 minutes, but maybe I'll squeeze in two more questions. One, actually, I haven't asked you before, but I'm going to ask you, because you've done remarkably well, because you've transformed. You've got your business in Poland, you've got a business in the UK, you've got a base at Myra, you're talking to the universities, research centres. So you've been able to do this all under COVID, which is amazing, really, because you've had to pop in and out when you could with quarantines and all the rest of it. I mean, are there any of, apart from the obvious barrier of COVID, I'm just wondering, for Polish companies thinking, well, if I'm going to go to the UK, what do you think are the biggest barriers? Is it simple stuff like getting bank accounts, or do you think it's going to be more? I mean, are there any obvious bureaucracy? It doesn't have to be, it could be out on anything, whether that's bank accounts, set up a company. I'm just thinking of anything you could advise Polish companies to say, actually, you might want to get a bit of help doing this, because it's not as simple as you might afford.
We've received a lot of support. I mean, with the banking, there's this sort of like an interim route. So we've set up a virtual bank account, one of these sort of fintech accounts, and then, like you say, to set up a bank account, it's easier to physically if you're within the country, you sort of sign off the documents and so on. But the way the fintech sector works now, it provides a great bridge. To allow you to sort of do things. Regarding sort of barriers, I mean, it's the one you mentioned. I mean, with the sort of COVID situation now, just getting flights in and out, we're sort of pressing the flesh, and we've had a couple of situations where we've put off. Now we're actually sourcing components for Triggo from the UK, and we've been putting factory visits back, so we're doing as much as we can on the sort of PowerPoints through Zoom and so on, but obviously physically getting our product into Hariba, we should have. We've been trying to get 3 vehicles in for the last sort of 2-3 months, and we keep sort of having to postpone that. But it's more a question of the current sort of COVID restrictions. I'd sort of flip that on. We're in a position now where we're getting so many opportunities. We're being presented with so many offers. We're getting so many inquiries from potential collaborative partners through the DIT and through GEP that our problem is more a question of how do we? It's sort of like hold on a minute. Yeah, we're pretty busy as it is, and we're sort of having to prioritize what it is that we're doing. I mean, just a point in question. One of our strategies as a company is to sell our license in the Far East, either India or China. Now, over the last fortnight, we've had 4 very, very good productive calls facilitated through the DIT, with talking to potential partners in India who have operations in the UK, and we've already initially planned or sort of scheduled site visits in the UK, and as soon as we can sort of come in to sort of travel freely, we'll be that's the next step, just like literally press the flesh and
I agree with that. Yeah, and I think, and just for you, Adam, and also people listening, as the country starts to open up again, we're looking to go back to big events. We're looking to go back. So I know in the Midlands, we've got Birmingham Tech Week, which it'd be good to get you involved in, Adam, and anybody else that's involved in tech, because it's a big event in October. But the big opportunity, again, for a lot of businesses, and I'll be talking to my colleagues, Bartosz from March and everybody else, is the Commonwealth Games next year. There's going to be a big focus in the UK on that, 300 million audience, big opportunity to get your products seen by a big. So now is a good time to start looking at opportunities because the country's opening up. And I think that is a key thing. I think the final questions, I'm just conscious of time. We've got 3 minutes left according to my clock. Yeah, so I'll ask my last question. And really, Adam, this is for the future, for Triggo. I think I'm fascinated. When the first time I saw your product, I really loved the innovation. I loved the fact you could change the size of the vehicle, so suddenly you can get into places, into cities that other vehicles can't. I love the low carbon EV element of it, the fact that it could be used multi-purpose for couriers, it could be used for ambulances. I suppose my next question is one for tech, where we're going. Now, when you look at the sort of sci-fi bits, this sort of autonomous vehicles, driverless cars, the fact that, do you have plans as a company to sort of look at this way going forward into the future?
Definitely. And if anybody's in Milton Keynes in the next sort of 2-3 months, they may keep your eyes peeled up, because we're doing a study with we're doing a pilot on teleoperated vehicles. So our vehicles will be remotely controlled from a control center and driven on public highways. Now, there's not just our vehicles, but there are 3 or 4 other vehicles that are being taken into consideration, simply because autonomy or autonomous vehicles is, like you say, it's a bit of a science fiction thing. And I know Elon Musk and Tesla are talking about sort of level 4, level 5 autonomy. The fact, how comfortable people are with being driven by a vehicle is one thing, but we're looking at it from a slightly different, from a totally different angle. We're looking at very low level autonomy. Anybody who's been in Milton Keynes recently, over the last 3 years, may have come across these little delivery pods, the autonomous delivery pods. We're looking at using autonomy for personal transport, for personal mobility at that level. So you'd be able to deliver an empty vehicle. You'd be able to hail through an application, an empty vehicle that you then sit into and you drive away. Once you've driven to your destination, you don't have to drive around for 10, 15 minutes looking for a parking space. You get out, you sort of leave the vehicle at your destination, and the vehicle will either through a teleoperator remotely or autonomously by itself, which is the next step, will redeploy itself. Will go to a base or will go to a carport. Which again is it's a huge cost saving. It means that you can have more journeys with fewer vehicles, because the vehicles are not stuck in a car park. They can sort of move around remotely. And that was one of the main ideas behind the Triggo geometry, that the fact that you've got a vehicle that's very narrow, the size of a bicycle, going curbside, traveling autonomously, even at 10 to 15 kilometers an hour, it's not going to increase congestion. It's going to be, you can overtake it quite easily. The problem with you can't put autonomy into a two-wheeler because of the stability. And if you put autonomy, or if you try and reposition a vehicle, a standard footprint sized vehicle, even a small one of the small sort of urban vehicles where you're sat side by side. If you're trying to reposition that 10-15 kilometers an hour, it's going to cause congestion. So you're going to add to the problem as opposed to alleviate the problem. So, but there's incredible amounts of research, and again, I mentioned Zenzig earlier, but connected autonomous vehicles, the amount of the number of companies involved in that. If you go onto the Zenzig sort of website and you incredible. It's just the UK seems to be this huge sort of melting pot of great ideas, and what is, I think, more important than the great ideas is this openness to collaborate, to work together, to bring in a core product, to create a sort of a full service, mobility service.
Spot on, and you know, I can't wait to see that. I think it's going to happen quicker than we realise. But look, I mean, we probably, our time's up. Look, Adam, I know we keep grabbing you to do these talks, so look, thank you very much from me. It's a pleasure to speak to you again. I know we'll be meeting up in the UK soon anyway, and we've got quite a lot of events coming on the rest of the year. So wishing you continued success and growth with your company. And if there's any questions, we can take them. I know I see in the chat, Bartosz and Marcin have said feel free to any questions. But let me pass back to our host, and good luck with the rest of the day.
Yeah. Nice to see you again. Thanks, Tim. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you very much, Tim. It's been an adventure. All our speakers finished off with fantastic vision. I'm really in love with their innovation, and I think one thing that definitely stems from this discussion is the openness in terms of collaboration in the UK. So that's something to bear in mind as well. And I do hope, just pondering on the whole session that we prepared for you today, is that we not only delivered, but definitely we over-delivered of introducing you to the environment, the startup environment, and the opportunities that it presents. So please do speak with us. Find us on LinkedIn, and we're really looking forward to getting to know your business and how we can work with you to support you in your journey. So I know that actually we're running out of time, so just wanted to thank you very much for joining us today, and do hope to speak to you in the near future as well. All of you.
Fantastic.
Thanks to our great speakers during the Polish Tech Day. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Bye.